I was basically raised flipping furniture, but reupholstering a chair? That's a new one. My mother has always loved flipping furniture, so I have been repainting, recovering, sanding, and upcycling so many pieces of furniture with my parents ever since I can remember. It's probably what's made me such a big fan of thrifting as an adult, but now the turns have tabled and it is my turn. My parents are helping me with a couple pieces of furniture for the craft room. So this video is going to be a little bit of like a mini makeover of the room that I basically work in every week. But mostly in this video, what we'll be doing is sanding and repainting a table that we thrifted for $22 and completely reupholstering a chair that I got for $20. None of us have even thought about reupholstering a chair before, so this was a first for all three of us. But these pieces were such a steal and they had such good bones. I am so excited to show you how we completely changed these pieces. For the next few weeks, I'll be uploading weekly, so here is your weekly reminder to subscribe if you haven't. And thank you if you have. And with that, it is time to start with the table.
So as I already said, we thrifted this drop leaf table for $22 and it was in pretty good condition. It just had some water rings on the top, which were totally fine because we were going to cover it with paint anyway. First step was to sand the entire thing because while we were going to paint it, we were painting it a very light blue. So sanding it would mean less layers of paint. Speaking of which, let's discuss the inspiration for this table. We wanted this variation of a very light blue with dark blue legs and gold accents like this photo, but with a little bit of a white flourish pattern like this example, but we wanted it to be a bit more on the delicate side. Here's a better look at the entire table. I love the small details like the curves at the end of the tabletop and the little bumps and ridges on the legs. So we started by painting the piece, dark blue for the legs and light blue for everything else. Don't ask me why I used such a small brush. I had a reason at the time. I don't remember what it is anymore, but I had one. We bought these wooden embellishments and painted them white. We then bought a couple of stencils to fit into different sections and also add some interest with different patterns. I had to kind of figure out how to fit this stencil in, and I did 2 rows where I flipped it upside down and right side up on repeat. I also stippled on the pattern to make it look a little bit more aged. I put some of this gold buff, I don't know exactly what to call it, I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. I put that on all the embellishments to add that gold detailing, and at some point I accidentally turned this toothbrush gold by trying to get some extra out of the tube, but it was perfect to take off any excess. We then eyeballed the middle of these side pieces to the best of our ability, put wood glue on the pieces, and put them on. And at this point, I was feeling a bit like King Midas. The last and personally my favorite step for this project was to take this bigger stencil and dry brush that repeating pattern all over the top. We also had one more skinny stencil that would go around the edge of the tabletop as some extra detailing, which you've probably seen a little earlier.
And that's about it for the table. You will see both of these pieces at the end. For now, let's go ahead and move on to the chair. This chair I almost passed up. It was $20, but it was in like mediumly good shape. There are parts of it that were pretty perfect and parts of it that were pretty banged up. So initially I walked out of the store. About 30 seconds later, I was driving, calling my dad, begging him to take a few minutes off of work so that he could come back and pick up this chair with me. And I got it. It was still there when I came back. Yeah, let me show you what the chair looks looks like.
Okay, so here's the chair. The fabric bit is in pretty good shape, and I just love the curviness at the top and the wood detailing at the bottom with the claw feet. The wood was in pretty bad shape, especially at the bottom. I actually have no clue what would cause it to look like this. There were a lot of chips and even white paint splotches. I feel like this might have been kept in a garage or storage or something, so while the fabric is in pretty good condition, the wood suffered from, I don't know, moving a lot or being placed next to other things. When I first got this chair months ago, I didn't really know what I wanted to do with it. I thought I would sand the wood, make a new cushion cover and buttons to match, and Bob's your uncle. I still don't know if you need to clean the chair to this degree if you're going to reupholster it like we do later, but what I will say is that if you do thrift, it is very important to thoroughly clean anything you buy. So I'm glad I did this either way. But let's talk about the final design inspiration. So we wanted to expose the back for this deconstructed look. I think this adds a cool industrial modern edge, and I always find it interesting how things are made, and this gives a glimpse into the work behind chair making. I just think that's cool. Also, I want this pillow. It looks like my dog and it's very cute. But we also wanted to give this decidedly grandma vibe with the fabric choices, and I had some perfect thrifted fabric for this, which you'll see in a bit. But also, you saw the thumbnail, so you probably already know. So fast forward about 5 months, we had our new plan, and it was time to expose the back and as much extra wood as possible and take out all those staples. We were totally fine with the staple holes staying, but we definitely needed to remove all the staples for safety's sake, and there were a lot. At one point, my dad was just ripping the fabric off as hard as he could, and that's why I'm wearing eye protection here. There were 5 or 6 times where we thought we had gotten them all, we'd move on to the next step and find a few more. I bet there's still one somewhere on here that we did not find. They were also very hard to take out. Even trying to roll them out with pliers didn't work sometimes. These were the fabrics we decided on, which were both secondhand, which I find very cool. The green velvet was one of my mom's very old curtains that she gave to me a while ago because she knows I hoard fabric. And the floral fabric is a curtain I thrifted maybe a couple months ago. We thought the mix of the two would give that grandma vibe, but mixing them together would give it a modern edge. At this point, we thought we were going to leave the fabric and just put the new fabric on top, so we covered the edges in tape in order to spray on citrus strip, which is a varnish and paint stripper. I will say this works well on paint, but not on this particular varnish. It barely made a difference and just took the sheen off, basically. So we ended up painting a very light layer of whitewash to get that lighter wood look. I've also learned since this that you can use an oven cleaner to better remove varnish. Apparently it works really well, so next time I will be trying that. And jump forward again a couple of weeks, and this is now what the chair looks like. You can see the paint on the wood, and oh yeah, the upholstery has been completely removed. My mom actually did this part. I feel like I turned around one day and the fabric was just gone. I think she made the right choice though, because the spray had actually still gotten on some of the fabric and she didn't want it to eat away at the new fabric. Since none of us had any idea how to reupholster anything, these are the videos we used to learn from. I'll have the links in the description for them. They both did a great job of breaking things down for amateurs like us to understand. We started with the cushion area, cut 2 lines at each cushion armchair intersection, and pushed that all the way through to the back. You'll see a bit more of what the back looks like later. For some reason, I just didn't record it here, my bad. I didn't want a separate cushion, I just thought it would look cooler, so we simply pulled the fabric over the cushion, turned it under where the wood ended, and started putting upholstery tacks in about every inch. This literally ended up being a 3-person job, 1 person to hold the fabric, 1 person to hold the tack, and 1 person to hammer the tack in. Eventually, we could all work on our own, but the first few seams needed all hands on deck. One trick I will say is to give yourself a lot more fabric than you think, because we did not make this cushion piece wide enough, so I had to end up tacking on more fabric and stitching a couple of pleats closed to get it to stay. Then it was time to work on the front of the chair, and Ollie had literally been sitting on this chair every time we turned around, and I finally caught him on camera. He's very cute. So I started by making larger buttons. I just didn't like the look of the smaller buttons, and I thought we could do less as well for a more modern look. Then we took some strong thread and punched the buttons all the way through to the back and tied it on one of those posts. Once they were all done, we did some pinning to try to keep the tufts in place. I definitely didn't do a good job with this because some of them did come out, but we would pull as tightly as we could. I'd make sure it looked good from the front, and then they would staple it back onto one of the posts on the back. We then added more tacks to this section, making sure to keep those pleats from the tufting in. I love the final look of these, but I will say we did so many of them, I think I just dream of upholstery tacks now. We then did the same thing we did for the cushion and pulled the fabric tight and through to the back. Now you can finally see how the back looks here, how we pulled the velvet down and the floral pattern up so you can see both fabrics from the back. We then started working on the arms by draping a length of fabric over and tucking it underneath a wood piece that's directly below the batting. Since this would not be visible when the chair was right side up, I got really brave and decided to try using the staple gun. I did not like it, but I did it. We then added tacks to the front of the arm where it met the decorative wood. We lastly pulled that fabric through 2 places at the back to get it to be tight and added our last set of tacks. Added a cute new rug that had this adorable faux cross stitch look that goes much better with this room. And now it is time for the final reveal. And that is the finished product, or finished products, I guess. This chair took
I would say about 100 hours between the three of us to finish, which is absolutely unbelievable. But we all thought at the end that it was really fun to just have like a weekend project to slowly work on. So we ended up having a really good time. The one little problem that this chair had was that we definitely did not leave a wide enough piece of fabric for these little side tucks over here. I had to go back in and like hand stitch a little bit of extra fabric into here, which was not easy, but generally so happy with these pieces. Also, there's a new rug in here because it just kind of matches the vibe better than that black and white rug did, and the other rug was very old. So love the just general aesthetic of this room. I feel like these pieces and the wallpaper and the rug are just starting to kind of give the vibes that I wanted to give. A little bit whimsical, a little bit grandma, but a little bit of modern in there too, and it's a good mix of all of them. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I hope you had a good time. If you guys like this video, be sure to like and subscribe. That helps me out a lot, and I hope to see you back here next time. Bye!